Thanks, Matthew. Now over to Mark Boots, Chief Technology Officer at Viamo, to share how they developed an approach to empowering communities to realize the impact of community development initiatives and ensure the information age reaches all people.
Good day. I'm Mark Boots, co-founder and the Chief Technology Officer at Viamo. We're a social enterprise that helps organizations across Africa and Asia to connect with their most remote clients using the simple mobile phones that are already in everyone's pocket. This talk is about how we kept communication flowing in the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. But first, I thought I would start with a couple stories on why Viamo came to exist. This is Sabalugu, a district in the northern region of Ghana. Its residents face a number of challenges. The central one is limited access to the services we all count on for quality of life: quality education, healthcare, roads and transportation, access to markets, information, and financial credit. The photo below is the district government office in Sabalugu. They have a lot of responsibilities. Under Ghana's decentralized governance system, this office is responsible for planning and delivery of education, health, roads, water, other infrastructure over a wide geographic area. At the time I lived in Ghana, Sabalugu had some absolutely inspiring district administrators. Very determined to deliver quality services to their population, they were doing their best to make smart decisions based on data. For instance, where do we build new schools? Where to focus improvements in infrastructure? Where to create boreholes? There was just one problem: the data. It didn't exist. And when it did, what they had was often old, stale, and inaccurate. At the same time, almost every family in this district has access to a mobile phone. This is one of the potentials that inspired us to start Viamo. From big UN agencies to small nonprofits, and even the district government of Sabalugu, if you really wanted data on the needs and priorities of the people you serve, you can literally just call them. Viamo started out with a question: how can we help nonprofits and governments use technology and the basic mobile phones that are now ubiquitous in everyone's pockets to create new feedback loops at scale, driving better development services? Here's the other side of that mobile phone connection. This is Humu, a woman who lives in a village outside of Sabalugu. She has one more challenge. She's pregnant with her first child. It's very difficult for her to make the trip from the village into town to visit a clinic for checkups during her pregnancy. Without this, she doesn't have much access to health information on what's happening to her. Access to health guidance could be one of the most powerful and also comforting supports during her pregnancy. What she does have is a mobile phone. If Humu lived in North America and had internet access, it would be easy for her to do tons of research. She could sign up for email subscriptions, and every week she could read what's happening at this stage and how to take care of herself and her developing baby. Early in Viamo's existence, people realized that if we could have two-way feedback conversations via mobile, we could also use that technology to get crucial information out to remote populations. We worked with a maternal health organization to bring a new kind of mobile education service to northern Ghana. There's a huge diversity of languages in some of these regions. There are nearly 80 different languages spoken across the whole of Ghana, so the service was recorded in multiple languages appropriate for each community. Humu was one of the tens of thousands of mothers who signed up for that service. Every week, she received an automated phone call timed with the stage of her pregnancy, speaking to her in her own language. All she had to do was press the green button, and she would get information on nutrition tips, how to protect herself from malaria, understanding about what's happening to her body, and also especially key actions to take when the baby arrives. When our health partner did an evaluation of this program, we were amazed to find in the data that mothers receiving these calls were about 50% more likely to give birth at a trained health clinic instead of at home, one of the number one things they could do to increase the odds of success for themselves and their child. When people have more access to good information, they're powerful in making decisions to improve their lives. These are two examples of how we arrived at the current vision for Viamo. Our focus right now is on two things. Number one is connecting 1 billion people with access to life-improving information that they can reach on demand through any kind of mobile phone, regardless of language or literacy levels. Number two is enabling feedback loops that help nonprofits, businesses, and governments to communicate with their hardest-to-reach clients, gathering data and learning how to serve them better. We're enabling this through 4 layers. It starts with the human side, working with organizations to design communication campaigns and services that understand their users, leverage existing relationships, and optimize for their intended impact. Next is a powerful software platform for authoring and running mobile communication. We've learned from the beginning that it's important to use the best channel in reaching each individual. As digital literacy and smartphone ownership increases, our platform has grown to support not just voice calls, but SMS, social chatbots on Facebook and WhatsApp, and mobile apps. Powerful features allow personalizing the content, customizing interactions based on logic for each person, and connecting into sector-specific apps. The next essential ingredient is our network of integrations with telecom operators across Africa and Asia. We do the heavy lifting here that's essential to run these conversations at scale with high quality and low cost. Finally, the goal is to support good decisions with data. We provide a rich layer of data processing, analysis, and visualization, summarizing millions of data points using cloud processing and Amazon Web Services to help organizations find the insights in their data. If you put this together, what does that enable? Our partners have used the Viamo platform to provide growing tips to farmers, health information on new diseases, weather alerts for fishermen, maternal health advice for expecting moms, market information for buyers and sellers, citizen journalism for human rights, and many more examples. Right now, we're processing close to 1 million phone calls and over 10 million digital interactions each day. This brings us up to 2020, the 2020 that probably not many of us were expecting. As the COVID-19 pandemic swept across the globe, or as countries introduced lockdowns to try to prevent it from doing so, it goes without saying that the world changed. The countries where Viamo works are characterized by large, remote, disconnected populations, and where education and workforce training have almost always been done in in-person gatherings. Two of the broad challenges faced by health organizations in the early days of the pandemic were, how do you act quickly to share accurate information about a new disease with large populations? And how do you train healthcare workers across the country to mobilize an effective response? When healthcare in remote areas is delivered by 60,000 rural community volunteers, Zoom calls and days of online meetings are not going to become their new reality. Viamo had some experience here. We were on the ground when the Ebola outbreak hit Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea in 2014. We'd seen the evidence that mobile phones could be an effective tool for teaching communities about a new disease, how to recognize it, and how to protect themselves. But in 2014, our telecom networks didn't yet have the reach where we were able to respond at scale, and we missed an important opportunity to save lives. 2020 was different. One of our available solutions was the 321 service. 321 is a free on-demand information service that we've created in partnership with mobile operators in 18 countries. I often describe it as Wikipedia Lite for basic phones and people with lower literacy. People across the country can call in for free to access rich menus of content localized in their language. Topics include health and nutrition, news, weather, agriculture tips, market prices, and more. The 321 service represents a shift in the development paradigm. Beneficiaries no longer have to wait for information they need. They can proactively go out and access it through the mobile phones that they have. The service is available through interactive voice response, allowing anybody to listen to it regardless of literacy, but also through text channels. In the 18 countries where the 321 service is available, mobile penetration rates are actually higher than radio or television ownership. This means that there's a greater potential to reach and interact with people through a mobile phone. Reaching people through IVR, SMS, or a chatbot also allows us to measure usage and reach very reliably. By using mobile, we can measure the number of users and the key messages that they listen to, as well as the demographics of those listeners, something that's really hard to do with traditional radio and TV. Having the infrastructure for the 321 service already in place allows us to reach a large audience across the countries where it's available. It's become a trusted source of information for millions of regular users. As of August 31st, 321 had served 7.2 million listeners with 100 million key messages in 2020. On March 11th, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. Within 3 weeks, we had health authority-approved information about COVID-19 symptoms and protection live on the 321 service in 11 countries, with 7 more countries added in April. Given the level of access to news, TV, and radio, 321 was likely one of the first ways that millions of people would learn about the disease, how to protect themselves, and what to do in the event of symptoms. To date, the service has helped 4.8 million listeners access 41 million key COVID-19 training messages, representing 156 million minutes of audio. As the pandemic evolves, we're working with health authorities to update this information and evolve it to present it in more effective ways, including interactive stories and choose-your-own-adventure games that boost and measure understanding of the content. All of this was made possible through what already existed: in-country partnerships, telecom integrations, and of course the large active user base that 321 provides. 321 provided a ready-to-use channel for reaching individuals directly. Another way that health information is delivered in these countries is through networks of community health workers, trained volunteers distributed across the country that provide basic care and refer people to clinics for additional care. In a lockdown situation where travel and in-person gatherings are not recommended, how do you train community health workers on a new disease? One of the services that Viamo pioneered in support of nonprofits and health ministries during the pandemic is remote training. Curriculums of training modules recorded and delivered through our mobile phone channels. Calls, SMS, and social messages are pushed out to tens of thousands of community health workers, with modules delivered over a few days or weeks. The content can be listened and replayed, and learners then answer a series of quizzes for each module to check on understanding and retention. These remote training modules also double as a library of content that can be accessed on demand. Learners can call back later to go through refresher training. A typical remote training project has multiple modules with embedded quizzes, baseline surveys, and endline surveys to measure retention. All of this data is delivered through the Viamo platform to provide dashboards of learning results. Remote training is not just for health workers. It answers a need whenever alternatives to in-person training are required. In Malawi, the Ministry of Education has a 5-year program to improve reading levels through ongoing training of teachers. To keep this program going during the pandemic, Viamo delivered 6 content modules and weekly reviews using voice calls and SMS. The question is, does it work? In this example, 10,000 teachers were trained with an 85% completion rate. We also measured 85% correct responses to the final module. So, how do we implement these mobile services? That question has a technical answer and a people answer. On the technical side, we use a hybrid cloud approach with in-country hardware talking to the AWS cloud. It starts from a call to or from a remote user through the core network of the mobile operator. Our stack starts with the Viamo delivery node, a hardware appliance that we've custom built to connect to operators directly using industry standards like SS7, SIP, and SMPP. The delivery nodes are located in-country, often in the same data center as the operator, for low latency and maximum reliability. Since 2015, our nodes have been smart nodes. They're autonomously able to keep running voice and SMS chats, even across disruptions to their international network connection. Interactive content is cached on the nodes, and interaction data gets buffered through a resilient AMQP queue until it can reach the AWS cloud, using VPNs for privacy and security all the way. All of our inbound data processing runs on AWS EC2, as well as hosting of the Viamo platform's web application. For file storage, including audio content and audio responses, we use S3. AWS's built-in encryption options make it easier for us to protect data privacy. For our relational database, we use a unique approach to get the best I/O performance per dollar, using triplets of i3 instances running the Percona database server in a primary-secondary backup configuration, with storage on the instance store. Finally, to enable aggregate analysis of big data sets, we stream interaction data as it happens from AWS into BigQuery and use BigQuery as the backend for real-time results dashboards. Delivering these services needs more than the technology. An equally important part is expertise and infrastructure on the ground. We have 160 team members, many of them close to clients and users, in 28 offices around the world. We count on important relationships and agreements with 42 telecom operators. None of our work would create impact on its own, so also crucial are the 150 active projects we're supporting with 90 nonprofits and development organizations so far in 2020. Last of all, the 21 million active end users of the 321 service are key to being able to share information quickly. What kind of conclusions can we generalize from Viamo's COVID-19 response scaling? What might be relevant to your nonprofit's work in different places around the world? A few lessons we've learned over the years might be as relevant to an inner-city nonprofit in New York or an educational startup in Toronto as to the development projects we support overseas. The first is that a digital strategy is no longer optional. With the ubiquity of mobile phones and the changes to how we meet in person, a thoughtful mobile strategy is essential. From here on, mobile communication will be one of the most effective ways for organizations, large and small, to engage their beneficiaries, their stakeholders, their team members, and their donors. The second is that collaboration and finding win-win partnerships are as important as ever. One example is our 321 service. Our unique agreement with mobile network operators has made it possible for millions of people to access millions of hours of life-improving content for free. As far as we know, 321 is the only kind of mobile for development service to reach this kind of scale, while remaining free for both end users and content providers, because we were able to find a unique value proposition with our MNO partners. Finally, the most important thing when developing these services was commitment to design. We focused on putting the interests of end users first and iterating as we learn what works for them. There have been a lot of cases where we didn't master what would work at the start, especially given the diversity of groups, populations, and countries we serve. However, through feedback and iteration, we keep improving results. For Viamo, our commitment to user-focused design led to our platform philosophy of supporting the best mobile phone channel for every user. It also means starting new services with user research and doing plenty of field testing to optimize how information can be understood, believed, and acted on. For your organization and ours, it probably means starting with listening, which brings us back to the mission that got us started in the first place. Thanks for this opportunity to share with you at Imagine Nonprofit. Feel free to reach out on email, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Stay well, and good luck as you tackle the important challenges ahead.